Welcome to Community Forum. My name is David Stevenson. I'll be tonight's guest host. With me, I have two fine members from the Salvation Army. We're going to talk about community involvement, volunteerism. I'll let them introduce themselves first. Gentlemen.
I'm Captain Todd Hughes, the commanding officer of the Salvation Army here in Danbury.
And I'm Jeff Harold. I'm the chairman of the advisory board.
Now, we heard a little bit of Jefferson Airplane coming into this show, Volunteers of America. Is there anything that separates Volunteers of America from Salvation Army? Anything in particular, or are they both just community-minded organizations?
We're both community-minded organizations. There are some differences. The Salvation Army is a faith-based organization. I'm not sure where Volunteers of America stand on that point. I can tell you a little bit of history, though, that I know about the Salvation Army and the Volunteers of America. The Salvation Army was founded by William Booth in 1865. And his entire family, had quite a few children, got involved in the Salvation Army and became his leaders in the Salvation Army. There was a son, Ballington Booth, I believe his name was. Mm-hmm. He was the national commander for the United States of the Salvation Army in the early 1900s. And he had a kind of a falling out with his father. And as a result of that, he ended up leaving the Salvation Army, and he is the one who actually founded and started the Volunteers of America.
Oh, interesting. Now, is 1865, is there any relevance, since that's the ending of the Civil War, is there any reason why 1865?
I don't know. He was just, when William Booth started the Salvation Army, he was actually a Methodist minister in England. And part of his responsibilities is he traveled through the slums, and he would hang outside of pubs and taverns, and he would try to get the people who would come out falling down drunk and help them. And his job was to help them get into church, help them clean themselves up, and then he tried to get them into a church. And he found that at the time the churches weren't accepting those type of people, and they'd make them sit way in the back and behind walls and stuff like that. And they didn't want to leave him after he helped get them cleaned up. So he ended up starting what was called the Christian Mission.
Okay, good. Mm-hmm.
And then over, I think it was 2 to 3 years after the Christian Mission started, they ended up changing the name to the Salvation Army. The military, quasi-military, mm-hmm. The idea of that was pretty popular in England at the time. So that's kind of how that came about.
So it's really more British than American anyway, so there's no relevance to the Civil War.
Right.
Oh, okay. Now, you've got the title captain, and you are chairman. Chairman, tell us what your focus is within Salvation Army.
My role as chairman is to sit at the head of an advisory committee made up of concerned citizens for the city of Danbury who have gotten together to assist Captain Todd and the local chapter of the Salvation Army in running their operations. We are all citizens, come from various different backgrounds, and the purpose of the advisory board is just to integrate the actions and activities of the Salvation Army into the community. We also provide a channel from the Salvation Army to the community because we all do come from these various backgrounds. For example, I've lived in Danbury since 1963. I've grown up here. I'm currently with the Danbury Fire Department. I've been there for 32 years. So I made a certain number of connections and people in the community that I know, and I bring that connection to the chairmanship of the advisory board, and I help guide the advisory board in our mission.
Excellent. So there's some recruiting element in what you do.
Absolutely. We're always looking to bring in new people from the community for a number of different reasons, primarily because the Salvation Army is such a key player right now in the community, especially during this time of economic stress. Yeah. We have a large portion of the populations that come in and need our assistance in one way or another. It could be with helping with heating bills in the wintertime, it could be through the food pantry, and it could be through other efforts that we make in the Salvation Army. And our relationship with the various aspects of the community throughout the community, and it goes beyond Danbury's borders, of course, helps bring those people together that can most assist those people in need.
Okay, now I'm familiar with the food pantry because I volunteer 1 day a week with Annie with the soup kitchen.
Sure, certainly.
So that's another good volunteer activity for people to consider along with the Salvation Army. Captain, your function within the Salvation Army is?
My function, I'm in the commanding officer. Mm-hmm. I'm an ordained minister with the Salvation Army, so I do have those responsibilities within this Danbury as well. I am also in charge of the property, overseeing business programs, community relations, the Salvation Army in the community. I need to be that face, and that when people see me, they need to know that we're the Salvation Army. So basically, I do a little bit of everything. I wear a lot of hats. I guess a jack of all trades, master of none.
Well, at least jack of all trades. We'll grant that. But now, there are many, many things, I'm sure, that people can get involved in, different types of activities with the Salvation Army. Let's go down some of the more popular ones so the audience can hear, understand, and pick, hopefully, one of them to get involved in, to be a part of this great city, this great small city we live in, and helping out people. Name us some activities.
Okay. Well, you can volunteer, as you say. You volunteer with a soup kitchen.
Yeah.
We have a food pantry, and then we also have a bread program that we do on Monday and Wednesday. We get donation of bread from various places and throughout Danbury.
Probably grocery stores, I might imagine.
Grocery stores, Starbucks, Costco's, Stu Leonard's. We get donations of bread from them Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. On Monday and Wednesday, we do a free bread program. Whatever bread gets brought in on that day, we get it all together. We put it all out on tables and stuff, and we open the doors about 10:30, 11 o'clock, and people can come in and take whatever they need to take.
Excellent. So things don't get wasted.
That's right.
That's important. In the land, in a country where there's unfortunately always been a fair amount of wasting of food, it's good to see food getting put to good use, and thank you for doing that.
We're fortunate here that we have a lot of restaurants that will give us food instead of throwing it out. As long as it's usable, they'll let us know. They give it to us, and then we get it to where we get it out as best we can to the people who need it.
That's fantastic. Another.
Well,
activity?
I'd like to just talk on this a little bit longer. One of the things that we've noticed with the Salvation Army food pantry specifically over the last year or so, we've had an increase of over 50% of initial users. So that just speaks to the really severe economic hit that many people in Danbury took. And so if we're serving 50% additional, our infrastructure has been geared towards a certain number, and now this number has basically exploded. And we're not the only ones experiencing this. All the other food pantries, the one you work with, the one St. James down on West Street, they're all experiencing the same thing. And one thing I'd also like to point out is that we are not a singular standalone agency. We actually work with all these other agencies.
That's great.
If something comes up, and for example, if we run out or we don't have enough, we direct them to some of these other agencies to help them find food. So all these groups work together, and it's really critical that the audience understand that this explosion of need is still getting bad, and it's still getting worse, actually. And the reality of it is that what really struck me is it covers all economic backgrounds. We've had people that were very well off that are now in there. Both parents have lost their jobs. They have children, 2 or 3 children, and they're living hand to mouth, and they're coming in to use the pantry, as well as people on the lower socioeconomic strata that you would more commonly expect to find there. So this has really been a across-the-board burgeoning of need in the city of Danbury.
Well, one of the things I noticed in the soup kitchen is and this is something that's gone on for the entire history of, I think, of the United States, is people serve in the military, come home, and we as Americans tend to forget them. We don't give them their proper due. And I see a huge percentage of the folks that come into the soup kitchen being military people, retired military people that have actually served their country quite admirably, and yet here they are home and really maybe not getting their due in terms of psychological help for the trauma that they've experienced in war and difficulty finding jobs, and it's very touching to see people that really shouldn't be in that situation. You said 50% as an increase. What are the raw numbers of people that actually need this help in Danbury? We've got maybe, 80,000, 100,000 people in Danbury. How many of those people are in on a regular basis looking for bread, for example?
Well, we're seeing, for the bread program anyways, we're seeing anywhere from 30 to 50 households represented each day we do the bread program.
So that could be maybe 150, 200 people, certainly.
Yeah. Usually get maybe 1 or 2 members of that household come in and take the bread for the food pantry part of it. We're seeing, I would think, on between 15 and 20, pretty regular per day.
Yeah.
Into our food pantry, and we're open 5 days a week. So we're seeing around 100 people a week.
Wow.
Or 100 households,
100
we'll say.
households.
Which
could be into the 300 or 400 range in terms of numbers of people if you have a parent and 3 children, 2 parents, 2 children.
That's right. And there's other parts of this. I mean, there's other parts of this too. There's we do more than just a food pantry. I mean, we do offer some financial assistance as it relates to utility bills and rent. We do try to help with clothing vouchers to the thrift store, our thrift store on Main Street for folks who need that. We do.
That's a great thrift store. I mean, when I was younger, I'll tell you, when I was out of college and graduated with a teaching degree and not getting much in the way of even substituting work, I was in that store. I've been in that store. It's a great store. A lot of great people that volunteer hours in there. And it's not just poor people that go in that store. It's folks from every economic strata in our city that need to go there, that need a little bit of a help. It's not charity. It's just a little something to get them from one bright part of their life to the next bright part of their life.
Right.
What are some of the other things that you're involved in?
Well, right now we're another way for someone to volunteer or to get involved with the Salvation Army is through our advisory board, and we are currently looking to recruit members for the advisory board. I think we have 5 open spots currently. We've had a couple people that have retired, and we're looking to fill those spots. It's community-minded people who want to make a difference in all walks of life. On
the advisory board, that you gather for meetings and do some of your coordinating work, your planning work?
Yeah, once a month, usually the 3rd Thursday of every month in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. We meet at the Salvation Army. We talk about, we go over the business part, finances and things like that, and then we start talking about some things we want to do, whether that's fundraising, whether that's getting involved in some kind of community activity or getting the community involved in what we're doing. All the advisory board members are, they're pretty instrumental in helping us accomplish those goals and helping the Salvation Army stay connected with the community and helping the community stay connected with the Salvation Army.
Certainly, that's the key, I guess. One day a month seems like a very reasonable amount of time for any person, even in a busy life, even with busy family life, a lot of work life. It seems like a reasonable amount of time for somebody to give back to their community, particularly when a lot of us that are riding high in April are going to be shot down in sometime in their life and really need to know what it's like to be needful of help.
Yeah. We have other, I mean, the 1 day a week is, or one day a month is pretty standard, but then we also have like committees for various projects, various fundraising efforts, like Christmas, for example. Christmas is one of the Salvation Army's busiest times of the year.
That's where you're most visible, certainly, and we've all seen the bell ringers collecting money outside of stores. And
you mentioned the bell ringers.
Yeah.
Our advisory board members are instrumental in helping us recruit bell ringers.
Oh, excellent.
Every one of them, through either the service organizations they belong to, the companies they work for, friends, family, they'll volunteer themselves to go out and stand and ring the bell. And sometimes we get a little competition going between different organizations that makes it a little fun.
Absolutely, and I've seen the people ringing the bells, and they're jovial and they're animated, and they don't look like Santa Claus, but they're certainly an extension of the spirit of giving in the holiday season.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One thing I need to stress to folks watching is that, and the point was just made that we're most visible at Christmas time, but the reality of it is the needs that we fulfill are year-round. They're not seasonal. They are most strictly felt at the seasonal time of the year, certainly Christmas. And the Christmas bell ringing is actually only one part of the many things we do around the Christmas time. We do what they call the angel tree. The angel tree is set up at the Danbury Mall, and they're also given out in other ways.
Yeah.
But what you do there, you can just pick an angel off the tree, and the tree gives you the specifics about a child in need, and will give you the age and the size of the child and one gift that the child may want, as well as the clothing item that they may need. And then you can simply buy those gifts. You don't even have to wrap them. You bring them in a bag, and then they're taken care of later. And that gets out to the community that way. There's other efforts that are made during that time. There's the food drives.
Yes.
The food drives that many different organizations, including us at the fire department, that we do there. And we do that every year, and they've done it for years. Lieutenant Chip Daly from the Danbury Fire Department has been running that now for the last 5 or 6 years. And it's a huge part of what the Salvation Army is able to provide for the people during that time of the year. So there's a number of things, but the point is that Christmas is just about, as you said, the most visible time of the year for us. The need is keenly felt throughout.
Yeah.
So tell us more about what people can do to get involved. You know, who can they call? Let's mention this right now. Who can they call? How can they contact you? And we'll come back and we'll remind them at the end of the show.
The easiest way is to call the Salvation Army at 203-792-7505.
792-7505, yep.
And ask for me, Captain Todd Hughes.
Captain Todd Hughes, excellent.
It's the easiest way to do it, and whether it be volunteer, donation, or if you just have questions about the Salvation Army, you want to come and see what we do, I'm the best person to talk to, and I can make it happen.
Yeah, come get an overview of the organization, try it on for size, find a little bit about it, and if you can spare a day a month, a couple hours a month, you can make a huge difference. Tell me some more things.
There are many folks on the advisory board that are out in the community, and the best way to attract other members is obviously through word of mouth and personal knowledge.
Yes.
For example, I know several people that I'm campaigning for, trying to get them, see if they're interested in joining the advisory board, and that really is the best way. But the thing that was pointed out earlier about the interplay with the service organizations, for example, they're a key part of everything we do here, because so many of them, people that participate with us, also participate in other organizations, and it could be any of those fraternal groups, the Elks, the Rotary, the Exchange, all of them that are out there. They all participate in one form or another in aiding the community. So any of those groups. But the thing is that's most keen to think about here, most focused, is that anybody can be on this advisory board. Everybody brings a skill set from their experiences, from their history, from their work life, and so you don't have to have a prerequisite to get here. We simply ask that people come in, be community-minded, willing to do a little bit of work. And you mentioned the meeting that's one day a month. The meeting is only about an hour and a half long, and takes place on the Thursday. And then the committees can do a lot of that by phone. But the biggest point is that we have a lot of work to do in this community, and the need is growing rather than shrinking right now, I'm sorry to say.
I've heard the expression, many hands make for lighter work.
Absolutely.
That's right.
So I say, I'm hearing a lot about overlapping of a lot of great organizations, including the Salvation Army. A lot of cooperative effort, a lot of overlapping, a lot of working together to serve the common goal. Now, you mentioned the religious component of Salvation Army. Tell us a little bit about that and how you coordinate that.
Well, the Salvation Army is a church. We do have church services. As I said, I'm an ordained minister. All Salvation Army officers are ordained ministers. So that's kind of at the top of our responsibilities. And the way we incorporate that in what we do is that, when we're serving the community, when we're giving somebody a cup of water to drink, bread to eat, it's through that love of God that we're doing that. We don't push it on anybody. We don't make them come to services.
No proselytizing. Excellent.
We just let them know this is available. If you want to come, you're more than welcome here. And if there's anything we can do for you, and that way, let us know.
That's the true spirit of giving in my book.
And
I think in the book of any religion, that's the true spirit of giving, is giving freely with no expectations in return, but a helping hand and a willingness to open your doors to them if they so choose.
Yes.
And I think you've hit on the key point there is not only do we look for people from every background, but every religious faith is accepted and hope to participate. And there's no test. There's no litmus test.
You might even have some agnostics and atheists in your group.
There's no litmus test because it sit on the advisory board. They just want people that are going to come in and be willing to do the work, whether it's working on the Easter Bunny breakfast, the pancake breakfast that we do. We do a fundraiser breakfast in the spring where we bring people in, and that particular event is where we recognize the other members of the Salvation Army for the good works that they've done. We recognize the people that have done outstanding activities, either in fundraising or in knitting clothes for the people that need them. This is totally eclectic and in every way, shape, and form. It really is, because our community, look at our community, it's as mixed bag as it can be. So,
Danbury is the great melting pot of America.
Absolutely. Yes. And so we are just serving that melting pot, as you say, in every way and shape we can.
An Easter Bunny breakfast, that sounds like a hopping good time.
It can be a lot of fun. Depends on who's in the Easter Bunny costume.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it's a bit too small for me, so we have a...
They could size it up to you, couldn't they?
That's spearheaded by our Women's Auxiliary, which is another great organization associated with us. They do an awful lot of work, too, as well, in hand in hand with the advisory board.
Yeah.
In helping us do the things we need to do.
So. And these ladies are just amazing what they do. They do everything and anything we ask of them. They work tirelessly, and many of them have been around for years. They don't come and go. They come in and they stay with us.
Are they separate from the advisory board, or do they overlap and participate in the advisory board?
Actually, they overlap. We do have a few members of our advisory board that are also members of the auxiliary.
Okay.
And we try to attend each other's meetings. You know, the ladies are welcome to come to our meetings, and they also invite the advisory board to come to their meetings as well. So
that's terrific. That's very 21st century and very open-handed, open-minded, and open-hearted.
Well, absolutely. That's the critical part. And we have nothing but the best people working for the Salvation Army. Right. I am constantly amazed at how much they do and give. I'm always amazed at that.
The best workers I've found, in no matter what course of life, the best workers are always workers that do it on a volunteer basis, because they're not getting paid, they don't expect to get paid, but they do it out of the goodness of their heart, and I think you tend to get a better quality work out of folks that are doing, even if they, as you say, even if they don't have any particular skill set that they bring to it, just the willingness to, hey, could you do this? Okay, and they do it and they step in, and people, I guess people probably are amazed sometimes and surprised at the skills they have when they do volunteer work. They realize that they have perhaps have a lot more advanced skills in areas that they didn't know they had. So there's always something to be gotten out of volunteering.
Absolutely.
It's not just a giving, it's a getting,
I think
too.
You just hit on it, that the symbiotic relationship is truly there. I mean, an individual can only do so much, but in groups they can do so much more, and the sum of the parts is far greater than the whole in a situation like that. Just amazing.
Absolutely.
What it works out to do. The folks there, especially the Ladies Auxiliary, as I said, that I'm just constantly amazed at how much they can do. But when you sit and chat with them, and you just alluded to it, they do it because they truly believe that it's what they should be doing. It's not a question of being made to do it. It's not a question of having to do it. They do it because they love the service they provide. And that's what it's all about, helping somebody else that can't help themselves.
So a lot of people that probably might be saying to themselves, well, you know, I'd like to get involved, but you always hear the word, I'd like to get involved, but. There's a lot to be said for getting it out and getting involved and getting that good feeling that you get when you give of yourself. But not just people that are volunteering in other situations, whether it's a family relation situation with their friends, but to get out and do something for somebody that you don't owe anything to, but you do it as a way of giving, of making yourself evolving as a person a little bit, making new friends, and I'm sure that a lot of good friendships probably have sprung up over the years out of
Oh, sure.
Absolutely.
People.
As I said, they go on for years, too. Absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent.
And like you said, too, it's about the good feeling that you get. you know, when you see a smile on somebody's face because you've done something for them, you've helped them with a bag of food, or given them their child a Christmas gift, or just help them out in some way. The feeling of appreciation that you get from them is, I mean, that's a reward in itself.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, how long have you two gentlemen been involved with Salvation Army?
Oh, God.
I don't want you to date yourselves now.
I've been involved very peripherally for a number of years.
Yeah.
I came under the advisory board 4 or 5 years ago. I'm not even officially then.
Yeah.
I've kind of been lurking in the background, helped with some of the food drive early on years and years ago. I've done some other things like that. I actually live in the neighborhood right near the Salvation Army, so it seemed to be a natural fit.
So you don't actually have to make a lifetime commitment. You can settle in, help out a little bit. If things get busy, you step back out a little bit without any repercussions, without any guilt. And then when you have time again one day, step back in. Mm-hmm. And you?
I was introduced to the Salvation Army when I was a junior in high school, actually. And pretty much started volunteering from then on. And I went to the Salvation Army training college and was commissioned an officer in 1999. So I've been a Salvation Army officer for a little over 12 years now.
That's great.
And I volunteer for quite a few years before that.
Both of you talked about some of the heartwarming stories that you've come across, the smile on a child's face. Tell us some more about some of those heartwarming, anecdotal evidence of how wonderful it is to be involved as a volunteer.
Well, when the kid is sitting in front of you at a table with a plate full of pancakes and the Easter Bunny comes over to say hello, there's nothing quite like that look on a kid's face. That is truly amazing.
Wow, that is fantastic.
Absolutely. One of the things that I'm always touched by is the things you find in the kettles. You don't just find quarters and dimes and nickels. You find $100 bills. You find 50s. Yes. You find jewelry.
Each according to their ability to donate time, money, whatever, to make it a better community, to make it a better world.
Yep, absolutely.
We're going to have to wrap it up there. We'll try to get you back on a future show to talk a little bit about more, and you can certainly come visit me on Progressive Soup too. Okay. But this is a Community Forum. I'm David Stevenson. I'm subbing for John Gogliettino, the host of the show. And thank you for joining us. Good evening.